Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney and I made this channel to talk about mental health things from experiences I've gone through. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety as someone who has struggled with anxiety for a very, very long time since I was a child. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the things that I didn't realize have made my anxiety worse or make them worse when I do them, or just long term have made them worse, because I think a lot of people don't realize that the things we consume or our daily habits or things like that can contribute to anxiety. Not that they're the cause of them, because I think that that's unfortunately something that can happen due to a lot of different causes, be it genetics or environmental. It's kind of a combination of things, but there are certainly things that can amp it up. And I'm guilty of doing a lot of them, having done a lot of them over the years. So this is kind of cautionary warnings, things that maybe other people who suffer can look out for and maybe try to change. And also I wanted to list things that didn't involve really buying things or drastically changing a lot of life habits, because also change can make anxiety worse, like a lot of drastic change. So these are hopefully little simple things that anyone could try to implement to help their anxiety. So the first thing that I was doing that made my anxiety exponentially worse, that I still to this day have a hard time giving up, was consuming excessive amounts of caffeine. Through college, I feel like it's so normalized to slam several Red Bulls a day to keep you going, or drinking several cups of coffee. I know that we found ways to make coffee really delicious and sugary, and energy drinks taste really good. Some people drink them for the taste, maybe less for the caffeine, but they do have a lot of caffeine. I realized I was drinking at least 2 energy drinks a day, and this particular type of energy drink contained 200 milligrams of caffeine. So that was 2 of those a day at minimum before I even drank any coffee. So I was consuming way more than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. And not only was it affecting my physical health, but my anxiety was off the charts. My brain would not stop. I was drinking it way past the limit of when you should be drinking it in the day, and my mind was just constantly racing, and it was just not good. So if my recommendation is to, first of all, monitor your caffeine intake, because there are a lot of things that have a lot of caffeine in them that people don't realize. I didn't realize how much caffeine soda had in it, about 60 milligrams in a soda sometimes, which is enough to keep you up at night, keep your mind racing. So I would first of all monitor your caffeine intake and possibly limit accordingly. Just seeing when is a good time that caffeine works for you. Maybe if you're having a really active day where you're able to actually work the caffeine out of your system, and you're able to actually act on the thought, maybe the racing thoughts, go on a run or something, or maybe you have work that's labor intensive or something. But if you're just sitting around all day slamming caffeine, it's not good for your anxiety, because all you're doing is just amping up your thoughts. The next thing that I was doing that was making my anxiety worse was not sleeping well and having really poor sleep hygiene. This kind of went hand in hand with the caffeine intake, because the caffeine was really, really diminishing my quality of sleep. And also, I just was going to bed really late. I was on my phone, so the blue light was really affecting my sleep quality. I wasn't tracking my sleep quality, but willing to bet it was probably in the 50s or lower. And I would wake up exhausted. I would have way less coping skills than I would if I was having good quality sleep. I just felt tired throughout the day, and when I would have my racing thoughts, I didn't really have the energy to exercise or do anything that could have combated the thoughts. So I just had no coping skills, I was not doing well, and I had no way to work out my anxiety. So sleep quality. Highly recommend getting better quality sleep to help your anxiety. So communication is something that I think I have mentioned in a few of my videos in relation to mental health in general. But for anxiety, it's really important for friends, family, significant others. I think it's important for everyone to know what's happening. That doesn't mean you need to share like every little intimate detail of what you're thinking, but it's helpful for people to know what's going on. And also anxiety, in my opinion, feeds on a lack of communication. The silence where you're not sure like where you stand with someone, or someone does something that makes you feel a certain way, that makes you start having racing thoughts, really feeds on that silence in the unknown. And reaching out and asking and communicating can really help kind of pour water over that fire of anxiety. So say if your friend went out to do something without you and you start to have like racing thoughts, oh my gosh, my friend doesn't like me anymore, like what did I do wrong, we're not going to be friends anymore, like this spiral that really happens with anxiety, particularly around interpersonal relationships. You could just ask, instead of making an assumption, which our brains tend to do in that silence. You could just ask, hey, I noticed that you went out, are you okay? Like, is there anything I can do? Maybe we could grab a coffee together, something like that, where it's spinning it on the positive and asking instead of like assuming and pinning things on them, when that might not be the case at all. Maybe they just had to get some work done and they wanted to go study by themselves, and it had absolutely nothing to do with you. Because a large percentage of the time, the things that we worry about, especially with other people, don't have anything to do with us, and it's not actually an offense against us or because we did something wrong. It's just our minds that kind of make us feel that way. So I touched on this a little bit, but another thing that I was doing, particularly in college, because I really didn't have time to, was not exercising. Anxiety, in addition, I think, to feeding on a lack of communication, can feed on a lack of exercise and activity, because when you're sitting there and your mind is racing and you don't really have any physical distractions to keep those thoughts at bay or to feel like you're working through the thoughts, they can just spiral, and the lack of activity can make you feel even worse, I think, sometimes. And so I think that any type of activity, like walking, running, cleaning your room, like cleaning anything, I think cleaning can be really helpful. It's kind of a satisfying feeling. And if walking or running is too hard, because I know I struggled with being alone with my thoughts when I was walking, even when I was listening to music, maybe that's the time that you could clean, because that's a little bit of mind work too that you can focus on. Maybe listening to a podcast while you exercise, so you're filling your head with another person's words instead of your own internal dialogue. That has helped me sometimes. Or watching a show, just something else to focus on if you're not at the point where you can just exercise alone, like without any distraction. So I think diet plays a key role in all mental health struggles. And again, it's not the cause, in my opinion, but it can be a contributing factor, and it can make some things worse. There are so many studies and so much information about how different sugars and different nutrients in the body can affect dopamine levels, and neurotransmitter levels. Like, there's so much science behind that, and I am currently researching it because I think it's interesting and I want to know as much as I can. So the information is out there if you choose to go looking for it. A lot of this is backed by science. Choosing the right nutrients to put in your body, and also maybe laying off of the things that make you feel worse. For example, alcohol, because anxiety is a real thing that a lot of people experience. And even if you don't have like an anxiety disorder, you can still feel anxiety the next day after drinking alcohol. And I think that is a good indicator that people who do have anxiety disorders likely will not benefit from alcohol in the long run. And so I think like limiting it because I know that I have severe racing thoughts in the mornings and I just feel terrible afterwards. And it can feel really good, like in the moment when you're drinking, you feel like you have no racing thoughts and you feel like you can be in the moment, but in the long run, it can be pretty detrimental to that. So I think beyond the science and the nutrients and the neurotransmitters, just paying attention to what food makes you feel good and like you have energy and like you're productive and like your brain and your mind are clear, because I have experienced eating certain types of foods can cause brain fog or exhaustion. And when I'm having racing thoughts and I want to get up and do something to help them go away and I'm really tired and I don't want to do it, it makes it so much harder. So I think just paying attention to the food that makes you feel good. If you have a food intolerance, maybe not sacrificing your health to eat something that you're intolerant to. I know that I've been guilty of that. My lactose intolerance, sometimes I kind of ignore and then I pay for it later mentally. So yeah, I think just being mindful of what you're consuming can help with that. And also just cooking. I am a huge proponent of cooking for mental health. That is if you like cooking, because I like cooking and I know some people don't. And for some people, cooking will make your mental health worse. So just only if you like it. So the final thing I want to touch on is something that I think can happen in college without people realizing it in certain situations and all situations in life. And that is isolation. I think isolation can make a lot of mental struggles harder because it has a hand-in-hand relationship with the lack of communication, and also it means that there are way less distractions from your own mind when you're going through something where your thoughts are racing and you feel like you're just living inside your own head and you can't get out of it. If you're by yourself all the time, it's way harder to distract yourself than if you have like someone else there, say a friend or a family member who can just talk to you. Even small talk might help you get your mind off it a little bit. If you don't want to talk to them about what's going on in your mind, you could just talk about something else, or just being in another person's presence. There are also studies about loneliness and the effect of loneliness on both physical health and mental health. Also, like your immunity can be impacted by loneliness. I think a lot of people don't realize how hard-hitting loneliness is and how many aspects of your life it affects, particularly if you're someone who's neurodivergent or you have mental health struggles. I would say if you're not someone with many close friends, even just getting out into the world, or maybe people watching in your college classes, or just people watching in general, can help you get out of your own mind and focusing a little bit more on other people. And you don't have to try that hard to do it. You can just go sit on a park bench, watch other things, observe other things, and maybe that'll take you out of your own mind for a little while. So yeah, this was a little all over the place. I myself am struggling with some really bad anxiety right now, so I am having some pretty bad brain fog. So if this was a little bit random, I apologize, but I did make a list, so if I was looking down, that's what that was. I just wanted to make this. I think they're kind of sometimes hidden things we don't think about that are so linked to our daily habits and some of the things that we learn in college in particular. Some of these habits that might work for other people in terms of productivity, but really can wear on the mind of someone who is a victim of racing thoughts and really negative thoughts. So I think that these can be some helpful things to implement. I hope someone is able to maybe take from this. I know that it took me several years to figure these things out. And just because you know it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to implement or that you can be great at it right away. Like, I'm looking at the cup of coffee sitting right in front of me as I speak right now. Am I going to have another one today? Probably. May I regret it? Probably. But it's it's just, life is just a series of choices, and those choices affect the way you function sometimes. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I will try to be back with another video soon. And yeah, I hope you have a beautiful day.